Now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Latore versus Sheindlin. Step forward.
Alexandra Latore says ex-boyfriend Anthony Sheindlin owes for several unpaid loans.
Miss Latore, this used to be your boyfriend.
Yeah, he claims not, though.
And is your claim that he scammed you out of some money?
Yeah, basically.
Mr. Sheindlin says that he never scammed you out of any money. Pretty much you're a nut. Is that your defense, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
That's a good one.
Tell me about the first bit of money that you gave to Mr. Sheindlin.
Well, we met back towards the end of March in 06, and at that time...
Could you try to stand still?
I'm nervous.
I know, but try to be nervous within yourself. Don't make me a co-conspirator in your nervousness by jumping around. It sort of makes me nuts.
Well, the first bit of money came when I got my taxes on April 15th, 06. And he took me and my kids to Target to go buy some stuff for my kids. And he had called me outside and asked me if he could borrow $200 because he needed to pay his insurance to his car. And I was like, okay. He said he'll pay me back. That was the first. So we kept seeing each other after that daily, whatnot. And it came around where I had brought to his attention I was looking for an apartment because I wanted to get out of the transitional place I was at with my kids. And his cousin was moving out and she was offering to sublet the apartment. So that had a $1,000 money order that I had put to the side for my taxes. Out of that, I went and go cash and I gave him $700 to put a security for the apartment.
Who did you give the money to?
To Mr. Sheindlin.
Now, she gave you that money, Mr. Sheindlin.
No, ma'am.
Who did she give the money to?
I don't know. She didn't give me
That's
any
a
kind
lie.
of money.
Did you tell her about this apartment that was available?
I don't know anything about what she's talking about.
Okay, go ahead.
That was that, and then I kept coming around asking him, you know, what's going on with the money. He kept giving me excuses on the manager this. I was to the point where, you know what, I want to go myself, and I was going to get belligerent with the manager because he kept giving me the runaround that this manager was giving him about the money. He was like, well, if it's a problem, I'll have my cousin Leslie write you over a personal check. Then what happened was his car had got taken away, and he had called me to try to help him to get the car out. And I had told him, you know, I could help him out, but he was like, fishing for like the whole amount to get the car out. And so I was like, I can't help you. And he kind of got mad because I was like, I can't help you because I need to put my money in savings.
So you didn't give him money for the car?
No. That's
Perfect.
where it became a problem.
Great.
No.
Go ahead.
And at that time, we had talked about purchasing a car. And some guy was going to sell him a Regal. And he had talked about fixing it up. And then later on, the car would be left for me and the kids and when I had the baby.
Can we get on with it, please?
So I gave him $1,000 basically, and he had put that in his bank account. And he didn't buy the Regal because we talked about going to auction. So he was renting a car, and he needed $300 up front. So that was the $300 I gave to him out of my purse. And he was supposed to give that back to me. He never did. So when he rented the car after the weekend was over, he decided to leave. And when he decided to leave, he told me that he was going to give me back the $1,000, and that never happened either.
Go.
Only thing I know about Your Honor is the $500 that I had totally owe her, and that's for the $300 for the car that she had let me rent recently, and $200 miscellaneous cash for gas money.
That's
and
not
I told her,
true.
no problem, I will reimburse you that back.
Talk to me about the $1,000 that she says she gave you to put down on a car.
I don't know anything about that.
I show you the statement from my taxes the day I got it, and out of the taxes is where I gave him the $1,000.
How much did you get from your taxes?
$4,600 and something.
And what did you do with the other $3,000?
I bought stuff for my kids and bought stuff for my house that I needed.
No, you mean you cashed that check? You kept the money in your apartment?
I paid my rent and I give him some because I don't keep cash. I don't have a bank account. Basically, I don't have a bank account.
Miss Latore, I don't believe a word you just said to me.
Okay.
Now she says you also took her son's PlayStation. Was it
Her son's PlayStation.
Yeah.
Her son's PlayStation.
Look at me.
I have a PlayStation. Yes, ma'am, I do, absolutely. But that was not for her son. She specifically bought the gift and gave it to me and said, here, this is yours. She purchased
That's a lie.
2 PlayStations.
That's a lie.
2 of them,
at
both.
the same time?
I would hope so. She brought them home at the same time to her house while I was there.
Will you return the PlayStation?
Yes,
sir?
ma'am,
Perfect.
with the quickness.
Very good. 1 PlayStation there. So you return the PlayStation to her?
No problem. It will be returned.
Is it in good condition?
It's still in good condition. I have the box and everything, ma'am.
Within 5 days it goes back to her.
Yes, ma'am. Before that,
Along
today.
with the $500 that you borrowed from her.
Whenever I get it, yes, I will get
No,
that.
now.
I don't have that now.
You'll get it now.
Oh.
That's the judgment. $500 on the PlayStation. Clear?
Clear.
Very good. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused.
Aaron McAllister is suing former client Elena Zadevich for unpaid bail money. Elena says Aaron was supposed to let her work off the bond.
Order, all rise. Your Honor, this is case number 483 on the calendar in the matter of McAllister versus Zadevich.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated.
What were you arrested for, Mr. Zadevich?
I was arrested on false charges of domestic violence that my ex filed against me.
I didn't ask you whether they were true or not true. I asked, what were you arrested for?
I was arrested on allegations of domestic violence.
Was it the first time you were arrested?
Yes.
Look at me. Was
Yes.
it the first time you were arrested? The answer is either yes or no.
No.
Better. When was the first time you were arrested?
Several years ago.
Having nothing to do with domestic violence.
Has something to do with domestic violence.
So you have 2 arrests for domestic violence?
That's correct.
Was it the same complainant in each case?
Different.
Different. Okay. You are a bail bondsman?
Yes, Your Honor.
It is your claim that you received a call from the defendant in jail. You responded. You bailed her out of jail. At her request, she promised to pay for the bond. She did not. You want your money.
Yes.
Defendant says you're a sleazy bail bondsman and she's not paying you.
Correct.
When did you receive the call?
Sometime in the middle of the night from the county jail.
What night? I'm not Karnak. What night would
I'm
you
sorry.
like to tell me it is?
July the 15th.
In the middle of the night. You were home?
Correct. In bed.
How did you get his number?
It was posted on the wall in the county jail.
You have your home number posted in the wall in county jail?
No, ma'am. It's an office number that forwards to my cell phone in the evening and weekends.
I see. I wouldn't think that you'd want your house phone
No.
to have a number. Okay. What did the defendant say to you when she called?
That she was in jail and she had to get out. She had to get to work the next morning. If she didn't get out, she would lose her job.
What kind of job do you have?
I'm an executive assistant
For whom?
for a small media startup.
How long have you had that job?
Close to a year,
10 months?
something like that.
Where did you work before?
I was managing a medical spa,
Where?
Walnut Creek, California.
Okay. Have any family here?
Just my 2 children,
How old are they?
6 and 2.
They live with you?
Part-time.
Who do they live with the other part of the time?
Well, my son lives with his dad, and my daughter part-time lives with her paternal family.
Maternal or paternal?
Paternal.
Paternal. So the father's family, father's parents with her grandparents?
No, his brother and his family, they live very close by, about 10-minute drive from where I live, and she's there a lot because I work full-time.
Okay. So you had to get to work at the media startup company when you called him?
Correct.
Did you tell him that you were going to take care of paying his bail?
What happened was I told him that I didn't have any money.
No, no, no. When you
Yeah.
called him on the phone from jail, you told him I don't have any money?
Correct.
Is that right?
No.
Of course not.
Right. I wouldn't.
Of course not, because if you tell you, please bail me out of jail, but I don't have any money, and he doesn't know you from a hole in the wall, he's not getting out of his warm bed in the middle of the night. Madam.
Well, he did.
No, no, no. He did. The question was, did you tell him that you didn't have any money?
Yes, I did.
He says you didn't, and I'm saying I believe him that at that time you didn't tell him I have no money. Because if he's in business and he gets a call from a stranger, you are a stranger, right?
Correct.
That I want you to get up out of bed, drive over to the jail and bail me out. But by the way, I have no money. He'd say, call somebody else.
That's exactly what I said.
All right. I don't believe you. Go ahead.
We discussed that she had a CD, and the CD was maturing within the next 30 days, and that there would be ample
That she would have money.
Correct. In the CD to pay me out of the proceeds of the CD. And she didn't want to cash it in early because she didn't want to pay the penalty. I agreed to those terms within 30 days that she would use the CD.
Was this on the telephone?
That was on the telephone.
Okay. Because you did ask her the question about money.
Correct.
And when you said, do you have money, what did she say?
I have a CD.
Okay. So, did you tell her how much the bail would be?
Correct. 10%, $5,000.
Because she had $50,000 bail?
Correct.
That's a high bail for domestic violence.
It is.
Do you know why it was so high?
That's per the schedule in that county. That's always $50,000 for a felony charge.
It was a felony.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So we get her out. We memorialize our agreement in writing. She
Can I
signs
see it,
a
please?
bail contract and the agreement to pay.
Can I see it, please? Okay, so you signed an agreement to pay him the $5,000.
I had no choice. He made me sign it.
But
Your Honor,
madam,
you
listen
haven't
to me
heard-
very carefully, madam. You have a choice. Your choice is to stay in jail until the matter on which you were arrested for is tried. That's your choice. You
Your Honor,
chose.
we had a different agreement.
No, no, no. This is your agreement. This in here is your agreement, in the four corners of this agreement. And what I asked you was, did you sign this agreement? And the answer is either yes or no. Not
Yes,
I
I
was
did
forced to
sign
sign
that
it.
agreement, but aside from that, there was an oral agreement that took place between me and Mr. McCollister.
I'll get
and
to
I
you in a
have-
minute.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Once the agreement's signed, I get her out of jail. She says, now what do? I live 30 minutes from here. I agreed to give her a ride. She's worried about getting to work, so I give her a ride. And it's about 30 minutes away. So during that time, she tells me the entire story about the arrest, and I attempt to be understanding that, you know, she was arrested, and I'm sorry, and that's a bad thing, and you're dealing with a breakup, and, you know, how she caught her boyfriend with his new girlfriend laying on the couch that she paid for or she picked out. And the entire time in the car...
Would you look at me when you're telling me this story, Mr. McAllister? Look at me. Don't look down there.
Sorry. The entire time in the car, she says, I'm not a stalker, I'm not a stalker. Okay, sorry, you're not a stalker. No problem. Okay, I'll get you to your vehicle. Well, the vehicle's parked 3 blocks away from the house where she was living or where she was arrested. So there's obviously something going on there. Anyway, I get her out, she signs the agreement, and she refuses to pay me.
Just a second. When did she sign the agreement?
Immediately upon release from the county jail.
Okay. And then you drove her to her car.
Correct.
And you dropped her off at her car.
Yes.
And she never paid you.
Right. I made
When,
repeated
for the first time, did you contact her with regard to payment?
Well, within 10 days, we sent her an invoice, just a reminder of the payment terms, and sent her 4 or 5 subsequent invoices that went answered with these rambling letters talking
Do you have
about...
a copy of the letters?
I do.
Can I see them, please?
Those are her letters to me and then my responses.
Based upon our discussion, these are your words, when he initially asked you for your money. Based upon our discussion, it was my understanding that we would discuss my opportunity to provide some type of service to you and your business in lieu of paying you $5,000 for a relatively risk-free, as you put it, bond. I am still awaiting the opportunity to make good on my offer to work for your company. As you were advised at the time the bond was posted, I have not, or do not have now, $5,000 fee that you are demanding. Given the above-mentioned discussions that we had at the time of the unsecured bond was posted, I now consider your correspondence demanding $5,000 to be intimidating and threatening. What are you, crazy?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Says former client Elena Zadevich owes for unpaid bail money.
Please do not send me any more threatening letters. You knew my financial predicament at the time bail was posted. I still intend to honor my promise to perform professional services for you. You never promised to perform professional services for him. Your own letter says, it was my understanding that we would discuss my opportunity to provide some type of service to you or your business in lieu of paying for the bond. Given the above-mentioned discussions that we had at the time, I now consider your... Discussions aren't a contract, madam.
Let me tell you what happened.
Yeah,
because he's not telling you the whole truth. What happened? He bails me out.
Are you just a second? Are you telling me the whole truth? Listen, are you telling me the whole truth?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
About your children's living arrangements? You're telling me the whole truth?
We're not talking about my children right now. I want to tell you.
You mean you're telling the truth?
About what
Listen
happened.
to me. You're telling the truth sometimes, and sometimes you can lie. And when am I supposed to tell the difference? You see, I knew that you were lying to me about your children's living situation. That you're not willing to discuss.
What did I lie about?
Listen to me. My question to you is, how am I supposed to tell when you're lying, and how am I supposed to tell when you're telling the truth?
I do tell the truth.
But you just lied to me today.
About what?
You lied about your children's living situation.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
How did I lie?
Oh, yes, you did. And you know you did. You know that they live with me part-time, they live with some part-time, they live here because I work. That's not the story. But that's a story you chose to tell me. Now, you told me that with the same veracity as you told me that you had another contract with him. And my question to you is, how am I supposed to tell when you're telling the truth and when you're lying?
What I'm saying is the truth.
Okay. Now I'm going to hear you, and then I'll tell you what the law is.
Okay. Well, he bails me out. He drives me to my vehicle. On the way to my vehicle, he makes comments about my physical appearance, and he says, well, it would be nice if a pretty woman like you worked for my company doing some sort of marketing and promoting my company, and maybe we can work something out in terms of paying for the bail bond that he posted on my behalf. So when he dropped me off by my vehicle, and before he left, he made me sign the agreement that you saw after we had the conversation of me potentially working for his company.
Did you get what you said to me, madam? You just said to me, maybe you could work for my company. maybe you could work for my company.
And
that's
he asked
not an
me-
agreement.
No,
That's
and after
not.
that-
No. After that, nothing. You took that, and I believe that you said that to her. Well, maybe you could work for my company and do something. Maybe you said it to her. Who cares? It's not relevant. There was no
I
contract.
said I couldn't work for him full time as he proposed.
So
he
no,
said,
madam.
We can work something out, and you can work for me on weekends.
Your Honor.
Oh, listen to me. Listen to me. You're making it up as you're going along.
No.
Yes.
No, I have
you
a
are, because
letter.
according to what you said to me, after you had that discussion, after, not before. You see, he said you signed this at the jail.
No.
You say I signed it after I had the discussion with him about working with him part-time, weekends, etc. If that was true, that's not contained in this agreement.
No.
And I believe, madam, that you are one smart cookie. And if he had this conversation with you where you made a contract with him, a contract that's enforceable, to work off the bail bond by working for him part-time, you would have put it in this agreement because you're already out of jail. You see, you're already out. Because you're already bailed out. So then you could either say to him, I'm not signing this. Or you say, it's not the entire agreement that we have. But you didn't. You signed it and said, I promise to pay you $5,000.
Well, he told me right there that if you don't sign it, I'm just going to put you right back to jail. That's what he told me.
I don't believe you. You're making it up as you're going along.
No.
You're making it up as you're going along because if he said to you, you signed this or I'm going to take you back to jail.
That's what he said.
Your response would have been, well, then put in our agreement that I could work it off. Right? Right?
I was very stressed. and
Oh,
I
listen,
didn't
it's
see
not the
what I
first
was
time you were arrested.
signing.
That's why I asked you the question before.
And
It's not the first time. It's probably not the second time that you were arrested. So pay him his money. You owe him his money. Don't be a con artist. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Now the tourist is suing his ex-girlfriend, 24-year-old Janice Semeno, for throwing away his personal belongings, including his birth certificate.
All rise. Yeah, this is case number 514 on the calendar in the matter of Torres versus Semeno.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Mr. Torres, you moved in with the defendant and her children while you were separated from your wife. I assume this is your wife, sir, is that right?
Yes.
And it is your claim that when you decided to return to your wife and reconcile with your family, the defendant kept and or destroyed some property that belongs to you. The defendant says you had ample opportunity to get what you wanted. Whatever you didn't take with you, she got rid of. She is counterclaiming because she says that because of your broken promises, she lost wages. She's going to explain that to me. When did you and your wife separate, sir?
March of 2006.
And when did you move in with the defendant?
April, can't recall it.
June 4th.
And when did you meet her?
I met her through my boss, which is her brother.
When?
In May.
Where had you been living between March and May?
My mother's house.
So you met her in May and you moved in with her in June.
June.
First mistake. Where did you move in with her, sir?
And where she used to live in Falmouth.
Falmouth?
Yes.
In a house or an apartment?
An apartment.
How old are your children?
I have a 5-year-old and an 18-month-old.
Where's their father? Don't know.
Gone. Yeah,
Gone.
don't know.
Were you working?
Yes.
Who were you working for at the time?
Stop and Shop and Dunkin' Donuts.
Who was taking care of the children when you worked?
They were in daycare full-time.
Was that subsidized daycare?
Yeah.
Okay. So you move in,
Yes.
and then what happened, Mr. Torres?
Everything was getting fine. I was missing my kids a lot.
You have to speak slowly, Mr. Torres, because I'm going to try to follow you.
Okay.
Everything was going fine. You were missing your kids a lot, is what I got. Now you're going to try to speak a little slower and keep your voice up so I can hear you. See how I'm speaking and projecting? You don't have any trouble hearing me, right?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
Go ahead. Everything was going fine. You were missing your children, and
I spoke with her that I would like to get closer to my kids. And she agreed to move closer so I could be near my kids after work.
so you said, I want to be closer to my kids. I miss them. Would you move?
No, I didn't explain just like that. I asked her if we could. I didn't force her to.
Nobody said you forced her, but you said, I want to be closer to my kids. I want to move with you and your kids.
Yes,
So she moved.
we did.
How far away from where she was living did she move?
I don't know the exact mileage.
Time. 15 minutes, 20 minutes,
no.
a half hour?
About an hour.
An hour?
45 to an hour.
So her children also were taken out of daycare?
Yes.
And she didn't have her jobs anymore?
She had transferred.
What do you mean she transferred? What does
She
that mean?
transferred her first job that she first had in Dunkin' Donuts. She couldn't get transferred. And then she transferred her kids' daycare vouchers over to a new one in Taunton.
So she relocated her whole family because of you. And when did she do that?
We moved in December 1st.
12/106. So between June and December, you and the defendant lived together.
Yes.
And in December, you relocated this family to be closer to your children.
Yes.
And then what happened, Mr. Torres?
I received a Christmas postcard from my wife and kids. She takes my picture with my kids on it and my wife and cuts my wife's face off and posts it on the fridge. And from there, everything went downhill.
So when did you move out?
I moved out before Christmas. It was December 22nd, 2006.
So she lived in this new location close to your children for 3 weeks with you.
Yes.
So what are you suing for, Mr. Torres?
Just all my personal property.
Like what?
Some Nintendo GameCube, stereo equipment, clothing, hats, bed.
And how much is all that stuff worth, sir?
Close to $2,000.
How much was the rent on the apartment?
It's $10.30. I actually had subsidized housing, so it was $170.
So he was getting the advantage of subsidized housing. They didn't know he was living there, right?
No.
Because if they knew he was living there, it would have been $1,000
Yes.
a month, right?
Yes.
Between June and December.
Yes.
Now, what happened with your second job?
They cut my pay and they cut my hours, and I had no idea when I was being transferred, because if I knew that, I wouldn't have transferred my job.
Yes, you would have.
Well,
What, sir?
excuse me. The reason that she stopped working for Stop and Shop is because of pay related. They did not drop her hours. She had the same hours, but it was a lot of money that she was missing up a week of her check, and that's the reason she quit.
So?
So she did not lose her job because of me.
She did.
Okay.
She did.
Can I call my wife up here?
No, I don't need your wife. You were a big boy enough to leave your wife. You were a big boy enough to have this lady with her 2 children relocate closer to your children so you could be more comfortable, so you didn't have to travel. So she relocated herself. Her 2 children, took them out of daycare where they were comfortable, where she had 2 jobs. Nobody's asking you a question.
Okay.
I mean, you knew that he was living with her, right? You knew he was living with her, right?
Not in the beginning, no, I didn't. But she also knew that we had problems previously, and we've always worked our problems out.
Listen,
she knew she was
Ms.
getting
Torres,
involved with
Ms.
a married
Torres,
man.
listen to me. Shh. I got what happened.
You're not, the story's not straight.
Ms. Torres,
I'm sorry.
when you wake up in the morning for 8 months and you don't find your husband sleeping next to you in the bed, that's not a fight. That's not a disagreement. That's a separation. And while I think it's dumb on the part of any woman to get involved with a guy who's just separated from his family, and dumber to relocate and uproot her children and her life, there's no question in my mind that you sent a Christmas card with your picture in it in order to irritate them a little bit. That doesn't say you're not entitled to do it. Don't speak. Don't speak. And I want to tell you something. I wouldn't have put up her picture on my refrigerator either if I were her. Put your hand down, smarty pants.
Torres claims ex-girlfriend Janice Semeno threw away his belongings. Janice is countersuing for lost wages.
So far, you caused a lot of trouble, Mr. Torres. You don't ask somebody to relocate their life and turn their life upside down unless you are 100% sure that you're prepared to make a commitment.
I was committed.
Excuse me?
Everything got a lot stressful when we moved in to Taunton from Falmouth.
You told me things got stressful when your wife sent you a Christmas picture with herself in it. And she cut the picture out, which is exactly what I would have done.
Prior to that...
Exactly what most women would have done. Cut out the picture of your wife.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Put your hand down and don't speak.
Prior to that, Your Honor, we were having the problems with her jobs. She was getting a little bit of stressful.
Was she stressful between June and December with her job?
No, she wasn't.
Because, see, everything was nice. She had 2 jobs, she had daycare, then she relocated, and then she had stress. It's your fault. You get where I'm going, Mr. Torres.
No, I don't.
Well, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry for your wife. I'm sorry for your children. You should get where I'm going. Bird gets where I'm going. The 50 or some odd people out here get where I'm going, sir. And if you don't get where I'm going, there's something missing up here. Now, what happened to his property?
I called him from my sister's December 23rd, and I said, you need to come meet me if you want your belongings. He said, I don't want them. You can throw them away. You can burn them. I don't care what you do with it. So I got rid of all his clothes, his hats, because what do I want with it?
When did you get rid of it?
Most of the stuff was on that day. I got rid of it.
Okay, because you were pretty angry.
Yes.
So whether he told you to get rid of the stuff or he didn't tell you to get rid of the stuff, you would have gotten rid of the stuff anyway.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Now tell me about it when he left. Tell me about what happened when he just walked out of the house without his clothes or anything else.
He was a mess. He came back from work and he was drunk, and he'd tell me, going home to my wife, I'm going back to my kids. And I told him continuously, I said, Jose, I'm not going to move unless, you know what I mean, you're going to be with me and stay with me. I'm not going to move to Taunton if you're going to go back with your wife. And that's what happened. He up and left.
It's a very stupid thing to do. And what
Yes.
happened to his entertainment center?
I have his speakers, and I asked him if he wanted them, and he said no.
Put your hand down. You know how much sympathy I have for you? That much. 0. Less than 0, if that's possible. You have his bed?
Yeah, what happened was when we went to Falmouth, I got rid of my bed, and he brought his bed.
So you got rid of your bed
Yes,
and
I
took
did.
his bed. He doesn't get the bed back. What else?
Yes. There's the Nintendo GameCube, which my son plays with, but...
What?
I got a list if you want to see it.
I don't care to see your list.
Okay.
She threw away a lot of stuff when you left, which is probably what I would have done if you left. You left, you're not there, you didn't take your stuff, goodbye. Stuff goes in the garbage. But she has your speakers. What else
Yes.
do you have of his?
I have his VCR, if you'd like that.
Okay, good.
And his digital camera.
Okay, I want you to box those things and get them out of your house.
Okay.
Within 5 days, he's going to pay the cost of putting it in UPS or the post office or whatever.
Okay.
Excuse me.
His-
I really need to speak because he did not get the story out the right way. He's very nervous. He doesn't know exactly what to say. He was buying back his own property. She did not offer to give it back to him.
I don't
so
care
he
whether she offered to give it back
He
to him or
offered
not.
to give her money. She checked off that he could get his own property with police
Good.
escorts.
And
We
I
went,
went there.
and she
Good.
said she threw it away.
Good. You said it now? You happy?
No, there's a lot more to it.
I'm not
And-
interested in a lot more. I got the general gist of it. Your husband?
You didn't
Your
because
husband?
you didn't explain it right.
Don't speak. Your husband left you, not because of her, because he didn't meet her for a while.
I just got separated from her to take a part time from each other.
She kicked him out.
Just a second. Then if you need time, Mr. Torres, to decide what you're going to do, is that what you're telling me? Is that what you're telling me? You needed time to figure out what you were going to do?
No, we just need time away from each other.
Then you don't move in with somebody else and dislocate them from a life. Do you understand that? Do you understand
I
that?
understand that, but I didn't do that.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You moved in with somebody else. If you want to take time away from your wife and see if the relationship can be put back together again, you do not move in with somebody else just because it's comfy. Do you understand? That's
Yes,
what
I
you
do,
did.
but I didn't do that exactly like that.
Get mad. Speak up.
Huh?
Mr. Torres,
Speak up.
your wife may not want to acknowledge it, but that is precisely what you did. She did not handcuff you and tie you to her bed. From June of 2006 until December of 2006, you shared the defendant's bed, you shared her life, you convinced her to move and relocate to be closer to
did
your
not convince
children.
her.
That's what you just told me, sir.
No, I
you
did not
told
convince
me
her. We
that you
agreed on
wanted
it.
her to move closer.
But I
that-
did not force her to do it.
Listen, those are the things that you're getting back. Period. End of discussion. Let me explain something to you. You don't get awarded money for stupidity. You don't pick up your life and relocate for a married guy. And if you do so on a promise and a prayer, courts aren't here to help you. You have to understand that. His wife doesn't get it because she prefers not to get it. He didn't go and move into a room in somebody's house while they were trying to work out their problems. He found it more comfortable to be in
No.
your house,
No.
living with you. And she thinks that's your fault. That's not your fault. She's angry at the wrong person. She should be angry at him because it was his choice to move in with you, and it was his choice to move into another apartment with you. It was his choice. He was more comfortable living that way while he was figuring out what to do with his marriage. So her anger is misplaced, and I don't want to hear about it. So you get your property back. The stuff that you just mentioned, sir, other than that, you get nothing. I'm dismissing her counterclaim because, unfortunately, the law doesn't permit her to have a counterclaim for her own acts of misguided love and affection and your promises that you were going to be with her. Law doesn't permit
I ain't
that.
made any promises.
Get out of here.
How's that? You may step out. Ring in. All parties in the matter of Gossett versus Roten, step forward, please.
20-year-old Andrew Gossett is suing his ex-roommate, Brandon Roten, for breaking their apartment lease. Brandon says he moved out due to a legal dispute with Andrew.
Where do you gentlemen come from?
Wichita, Kansas. Wichita, Kansas as well.
Who lost their luggage? You had no clothes?
No clothes, man.
Let me see the outfit that you got yourself put together with. Not bad. Okay, Mr. Gossett, this is what your case is about. You, the defendant, and I think one other young man decided to room together. You signed a lease, and the defendant moved out 4 months prior to the lease terminating. Mm-hmm. And you have been taking care of his share of the rent for that 4-month period. The defendant says that your actions forced him out of the apartment, and therefore he's not responsible for the rent. When did you sign this lease?
August 29th, 2006.
The third roommate was who?
David.
Where is David now?
He's a full-time grad student at Lawrence. Otherwise, I would have him as a witness.
In Kansas?
In Kansas, yes.
You go to school as well?
Yes, I go to Butler Community College.
And you?
I do as well, Butler Community College.
Are you angry with each other?
We haven't really spoken in the past 4 or 5 months. I have no hostility towards Brandon.
You just want your money? Okay. When did you move out, sir?
I moved out in the last day of October due to certain circumstances and situations.
Okay. So you moved out and there was still 4 months left to go on the lease?
Yes.
And you understand, Mr. Roten, that it is your burden to establish to me that you had just cause to leave. Otherwise, you're really responsible for this money.
Yes, ma'am.
That fair?
I believe so, yes.
Ball's in your court, sir. Let me hear you.
Okay. September 29th of 2006. We were still living at the time with David and Andrew. We were proceeding up to Lawrence to actually check out KU and the nightlife as well.
KU.
Kansas University, I'm sorry. We stopped at a gas station to fill up and get some refreshments. Andrew Gossett actually had placed an alcoholic beverage on the dashboard of the vehicle. There was a park ranger.
You mean a beer?
A beer, yes.
I've heard of that. They did have beer in the Stone Age when I was...
The park ranger proceeded over to investigate the matter, check if we were all 21.
Investigate the beer?
Investigate the beer. He discovered that
Were you driving, sir?
No. No. They had to search the vehicle because none of us were 21, and they proceeded to find drugs and things like that in the car.
What kind of drugs did they find?
Marijuana.
Anything else?
No, just a bong with it.
What would that be?
Just what you smoke it out of, I guess. I really don't know.
An implementation for using the marijuana.
Yes, ma'am.
For those of us who may not be educated. So they found marijuana. Where did they find it?
In the glove compartment of the vehicle.
Whose car was it?
The driver.
Whose car was it?
Not one of ours. It was another friend's.
So what happened?
Well, after that, the cop investigated each one of us, asking questions. Andrew Gossett said that all 4 of us were responsibility for the marijuana, and the other 3 of us said no, that was not correct. It was Andrew Gossett's marijuana. That was the dispute between me and him.
Was it your marijuana?
No, ma'am.
Whose was it?
It was collectively kind of an apartment deal. I actually did not bring it into the vehicle. That was proven when this case took place.
So the case was tried?
Yes. Yes. And I pled not guilty.
And what happened with it?
I was charged with obstructive possession, which means I was in a vehicle. Not
obstructive. Constructive.
Constructive. All right.
Obstruction means that you were against something. Constructive means that even though it wasn't in your hand, you are charged with possession of it. Do you understand?
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
You're right.
Constructive.
And, constructive possession. And that being said, there were 4 people involved.
Could you get to the bottom line?
Yes. When we all got out of the vehicle.
Were you convicted?
Yes, I was convicted.
Perfect. Were you convicted?
No.
How many people in the vehicle were convicted?
1.
Did you go to trial?
Yes, I did. I testified against him.
You testified against Mr. Gossett.
Yes, ma'am.
That might make it tacky to live together after that.
My two other witnesses actually testified for me, and under oath, when they made their testament to the police officer, they might have said it was mine, but all four of us were smoking it.
Well, you weren't all smoking it in the car, were you?
Mm-hmm.
You were?
Yeah.
So he didn't just find an open beer can in the car. The officer must have smelled this marijuana if you were all smoking in the car.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He was
Andrew Gossett claims ex-roommate Brandon Roten skipped out on their apartment lease.
Okay. Mr. Gossett, of all the people, you were the only one convicted, and I gather you were convicted on the testimony of Mr. Roten.
Yes.
You would agree that that might make it sort of tacky to share a room with him, right?
Yes, but he did move out before we even went to trial. Trial didn't happen until a matter of a month ago, so.
Well, but he moved out because there was going to be a trial, and he was being...
He moved out because he got his girlfriend pregnant.
Oh.
Well, somebody was actually responsible.
Just a second. When did you first, Mr. Roten, speak to the district attorney about testifying at the trial?
I believe it was December 31st, and then I actually went and testified February 12th.
But you moved out, sir, in October.
Yes.
So you didn't move out because of this. You moved out because of your girlfriend.
No, I moved out because there was a lot of tension between me and Andrew because he was actually making threats that he was the only one that got arrested and he's taking everybody down.
That's incorrect. It was not hostile at all towards Brandon. I understood the matter at the time.
Well, tell me,
he even
Mr.
helped bail
Gossett,
me out, so I did
Mr.
appreciate
Gossett,
that.
Tell me, sir, about the situation when Mr. Roten moved out in October.
All right, Brandon is very close with his family. I respect that. He was 18 at the time. He was not guided in the way of living on his own. I priorly lived at 2 apartments.
There's no such word as priorly.
Okay, yeah, I just made that up.
I know.
And I kind of noticed some instability after a month, which, made kind of my relationship and his, that there was tension between us.
What efforts did you make, Mr. Roten, to get another roommate?
I had actually been contacted with one of my friends acknowledging that I want to move in for you. I need a place, and I don't want you to be responsible for the rent. His name is Daniel.
Did Daniel move in?
Daniel did actually move in as a guest for a matter of, I think, maybe 11 days to 2 weeks. He actually owes me money now, too, for rent as well. And
so he didn't pay rent?
No, he didn't.
I have checks saying
he paid a portion of 1 month's rent and then...
Paid a portion of 1 month's rent?
Yeah.
That didn't work out. Did you know Daniel left?
No, I did not.
Did you advise him that Daniel left?
No, because at the time I had no contact with Brandon.
Well, how do you know Mr. Roten was aware of the fact that Daniel left? He found
because
another
I think
roommate.
Daniel and him have excellent communication in comparison with me and
Well,
Daniel.
you don't know that, sir.
I know.
You know that. That's a problem. You see, I believe Mr. Roten had the obligation to help find a new roommate.
And in reality, he did not find the roommate. I did come to Daniel because Daniel got evicted from his previous lease.
So you did find another roommate?
Yeah, I found him, but he did not stay for long. He had been evicted from his prior lease. The bills added up, and Daniel couldn't afford it. He came to his grandma. His grandma paid. I mean, the bank account is through his grandma. The check that was written to me.
So you picked a bad roommate.
Exactly.
Well, then,
Mr.
Gossett, Mr. Gossett, if you picked a bad roommate, you cannot visit that on Mr. Roten. You see, if he left and you substituted another roommate that you thought would cover his portion of the rent, and you picked somebody that you knew was financially unstable, you see, the only thing that Mr. Roten had to do, if you didn't do it, was to find someone else. He absolutely had to, under the circumstances, because I think that this tension, some of it had to do with this, and some of it had to do with the fact that is this your girlfriend?
Yes, it is.
Well,
fiance, actually, now.
Fiance. You are affianced? I've always wanted to use that word. Are you living at home?
No, I own my own house now.
Great. Who pays for it?
Me.
From what?
From my job.
Good. Do you have any other roommate in your house now?
I don't live there anymore. I live in an apartment with my girlfriend.
When did you move out?
When the lease was up.
What about the other roommate that you had?
Dave made it aware to me that he was going to be entering graduate school. He left for Lawrence, I think, month and a half before our lease was up, but he did make arrangements to find a roommate, and that roommate worked out great. So
Great.
to cover
Well, you
his
made
portion.
arrangements to find Daniel, but Daniel didn't work out great.
But see, Daniel had actually lived with me 6 months before at an apartment, and he made all his bills, paid everything on time, was great
You
with
just
that.
told me that Daniel moved in because he had financial problems.
No, Daniel moved in because his lease was broke. Like, he got evicted.
You just told me that. You just finished telling me that, Mr. Gossett, that Daniel moved in because he had some financial problems because he got evicted. You don't evict a good tenant.
No, it wasn't financial problems. It was actually like gang violence or something.
You just
Some
told me it
people
had to
broke
do with
into.
his grandmother's bank account,
No,
Mr.
no,
Gossett. You keep
his
talking.
grandmother pays for everything.
Yeah, okay.
He has
Mr. Gossett, you picked a bad third roommate. It was really his responsibility to choose somebody, but if you chose somebody and that didn't work out, you cannot visit that on Mr. Roten. Your case is dismissed. Are you happy now? Are you happy where you are?
No.
You're not happy where you are?
Oh, I'm happy where I am now, yes.
Are you happy where you are?
Yes, ma'am.
Go back to Kansas.
Christy Dye is suing her ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old Jeffrey Springer, for the cost of wheels and tires.
All rise. Now it's case number 495 on the calendar in the matter of Dye versus Springer. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a model.
You make a lot of money?
It's average. I wouldn't say a lot.
Well, give me an example. You filed your tax returns last year. What did you earn in your tax returns last year?
I just started modeling like maybe 3 months ago.
Well, then what did you do last year?
I worked at Dillard's.
And how much did you earn at Dillard's last year?
$5,000. I didn't work many hours.
Well, where did you live?
In San Angelo.
With whom?
The defendant, Jeffrey Scott Springer.
I'm sorry.
Was he supporting you?
Yes, ma'am.
Because you certainly weren't supporting yourself,
Yes,
right?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Springer, what do you...
I'm listening. I'm sorry. I mean,
What do you do for a living, sir?
I work in a call center.
Call center.
Yes, ma'am. For Progressive Insurance.
And how long have you been doing that?
I've only been doing that for about 3 months in Austin.
Sir, what I want you to do is tell me, Mr. Springer, what you were doing last year when you were supporting Miss Dye.
I worked for Capital One at a call center also.
They didn't do that commercial that they do and fashion it after you, did they?
No, ma'am.
Adorable. You were supporting the plaintiff when you were living together?
That would be correct.
How much did you earn?
$25 a year.
$25,000?
That'd be correct.
Allowed you to buy that beautiful gold chain that you're wearing that's blinding me. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Miss Dye, so he's supporting you for the year, right?
Yes, ma'am. But before last year, I also worked at a gym. I managed a gym in San Angelo.
$425 ain't supporting nothing, so I don't see where you get
$6, thank you.
$6. Keep you in mascara.
$6.
Now, this is your claim. Your claim is that you purchased, on your credit, new rims and wheels for him.
I financed them for him.
Did you use a credit card?
No, ma'am.
Did you pay cash?
No. I went to Credit World with him in San Angelo.
It's a rent to own.
A rent to own.
There you go.
Because that's something that nobody can do without. New rims and wheels, right, Bert?
Rent to own rims and
Rent to own rims and wheels.
I have a picture of it.
You want to know something? I don't need to see it. Unless they have a picture of a bird in the middle, I'm not interested in taking a look at it. Because I think that's the most ridiculous thing. You know, I can understand if you buy new tires because your tires are bald and you need tires to get around, but somebody who earns $4.25 an hour and somebody who is supporting two people on not a lot of money doesn't need fancy spokes for their car. You know, you should put away some money maybe for college education.
That would be why she was getting supported by me, is because she was going to college.
Good. Anyway, you financed these rims and wheels. You paid some of it off, but when you broke up, you stopped paying the rest.
Correct.
No, my arm is hurt. I can't.
Rest it on the table, sir.
It's
Don't
hard.
cross your arms. What?
It's hard.
It's hard?
I mean, go
then
ahead.
just suffer for a while you're here.
Oh, I'd be more than happy to try to.
Good. Did you pay for some of these rims and wheels?
Yes.
How much did you pay?
Everything but the $12.56.
Okay, so why don't you owe her for the rest?
As we broke up, I moved back to Austin. I went to jail for driving on a suspended license. I informed her that I was not going to pay for the car. I called the dealership. They had impounded the car. I informed her that I needed the manufacturer tires back to give the dealership so I could get those tires back and give them either to her or to Credit World. She no longer had the manufacturer tires. So she didn't give them to me. They gave me 20 days to pick them up off that vehicle. She never gave me nothing, so I could not get them.
So your defense is that you contacted her after how long?
4 or 5 months, maybe.
And then you called her and you said, listen, if you want the rims and wheels, because they're going to repossess the car, you have to come down with the original ones.
Correct.
Where were the original ones?
They gave me 20 days.
No.
I'm not sure where the original was.
Well, what did you expect her to do? Hold on to the original ones forever?
Well, most people hold on to their manufacturer.
Most people hold on to their rims. I'm going to tell you something.
The manufacturers.
I'm going to tell you something. Mr. Springer, without going into make and model, suffice it to say, sir, that I have a lot of cars. I have never held on to, well, not only have I never held on to rims and wheels, I've never bought rims and wheels. I buy a new car. Car comes with wheels. That's what's on the car. That's what I drive. They're round. They work. That's fine.
That's true.
How many rims and wheels do you have in your garage?
Just sitting here off the car.
Off the car?
None.
None. You want to know why? Because we have other junk to put in garages. You know, where are you supposed to put the bicycles and the trash cans?
And the cars.
And the cars. So, Mr. Springer, let us assume... Well, I can't tolerate him. Sorry.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Di claims ex-boyfriend Jeffrey Springer owes for new wheels and tires. Jeffrey says he supported Christy for 2 years.
Mr. Springer, I want to ask you a question. Sometimes I wake up in a bad mood. Now, I know that that might be hard for you to believe. It might be hard for the rest of the world to believe that sometimes I wake up in a bad mood. And I might venture to say sometimes Officer Petrie Hawkins Bird might wake up in a bad mood. Sometimes. Not often, but sometimes. We would like to know, what is it you take, sir?
What do you mean, what is it I take?
You seem to be so happy, sir.
Yeah, I mean,
you seem to be inordinately happy.
It's hilarious to me that she's suing me over $1,200.
You seem to be happy under the most dire circumstances.
Yeah.
So we would like to know, do you take a special kind of coffee or tea? What mixture do you take in the morning? Do you drink a special kind of juice? Do you eat a special kind of cereal in the morning to make you as happy as you are?
No, I'm happy individual.
You're happy?
I mean, but
I hope you're happy. All the way to the bank where you're going to send her $1,257.03. Because I don't think I don't think that she has to hold on to your old rims in case your car gets impounded. Goodbye, Mr. Springer. Thank you.
Thank you.
you got to be
Step
kidding.
out.
$1,200? My chain costs $1,200, boss.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Learmont versus Johnson. Step forward, please.
Lori Learmont is suing her former friend, 25-year-old Amber Johnson, for a loan to pay her rent.
Miss Johnson, this was your neighbor.
Yes.
How long was she your neighbor?
7 years.
And according to what I read, there came a time when you had some financial problems and you went to your neighbor and asked for money.
Yes.
What kind of money did you ask her for?
I needed money for my rent. I was behind on my rent, so I asked her for $700 for a loan.
Was she a really good friend of yours?
At the time, she was, yes.
You had no family that you could ask money for?
Not at the time. They didn't have the money to loan me.
Who did you ask?
I asked my mother.
And your mother had no money to give you?
No.
So you went to your neighbor?
Yes.
And your friend, and you said, I have no money for rent. Did you have children?
Yes.
How many?
1.
Could you please loan me some money?
Yes.
And what did she say?
She said yes, she would loan me the money, and I would work off the money.
Just a second. She said yes, she would loan you the money?
Yes.
And she gave you the money?
Yes.
And you paid your rent?
Yes.
And now she has to sue you for the money?
I feel I worked...
Just a second. Now she has to sue you for the money. It is your defense that you worked it off.
Yes.
Doing what?
I did housework, I balanced her checkbooks, I did a lot of small jobs for her.
Well, did you keep a record of how much work you did?
No, I didn't.
Did you have a discussion with her of how much you would be paid an hour?
She said it would be $9 an hour.
Is that right?
It ended up that way, but I started off at 7.
So how many hours did you work?
Probably once a week, 8 hours a day. It depended on my work schedule because I was...
Well, how am I supposed to figure that out unless you kept track?
I didn't keep track. I don't know.
Did you?
Yes.
How many hours did she work?
It's hard to explain how many hours. I have it detailed on here.
Can I see it, please?
On there, I had to give her $20 to get to my place because she had no money for gas, so that was kind of added in there.
That never happened.
It did.
I live right around the corner.
You didn't have any money
Don't
for
speak
gas.
to each other. Now, where did you get this from, these hours that she worked?
She wrote it down, or I wrote it down on a piece of paper, and then it was a real mess, so I detailed it.
Do you have any of those papers that you wrote it down?
I'm sorry, I do have it, but it's just not right beside me. I thought you'd like a nice, neat, typed.
Well, no, I would have preferred to have seen exactly what it was that was written down.
I was thinking that while you said that.
Okay. So since she kept no records, and you did, gave her credit for $150, that means you still owed her $550.
There was also a time that I went down to pick up her car from the shop. She had me go down and drive it back up the hill, and she said that she would take $50 off the bill for that.
Just a minute. Yes, we have that here, November 22nd.
Okay.
It's right here. So you still owe her $550.
I don't believe I do. I worked more hours than she said.
All you had to do was keep track.
I didn't think it would go this far.
Well, it did go this far. I've often said, when you lend people money, friends, it's the quickest way to end a friendship.
I know.
If somebody comes to you and says, I need $700 to pay my rent, if you can afford to give them $700 to pay their rent and never expect to see it again, give them the money and then say to them, don't ever ask me for money again. I'm giving you this money. You don't have to pay me back. But do not ever ask me for money again. Is that fair? Because once you are a loaner of money, the friendship is over because she thinks you're a pig for coming after her for this money now that you probably really don't need desperately, you know, like she needed the money desperately when she came to you. And she said, why is she being so petty and coming after me for this money, right? Why is she being so petty? When the truth of the matter is she was desperate and her own mother wouldn't give her a quarter. A stranger did. So you owe her $550. Now, you have a cross-complaint for harassment. You want to get there fast?
Yes, she was calling my work, harassing me at work. She probably called about 10 times a week at work. She would call me at 3 in the morning asking for the money. Her guy that she's living with showed up at my house, egged my door, threatened to kill me. There was so much harassment, I quit returning her calls.
Why don't you just pay her the money?
I didn't have the money, and I didn't have the time
well,
to work
that's the
off.
answer. You didn't have the money. When for the first time did she ask you for the money?
The next day. The day after the loan, she called me and said, I would like my money. And I said, well, I'm supposed to work it off. She said, no, I need my money now. I have people that are hounding me for money. I need my money now. The day after she called me.
No wonder her mother didn't give her any money. There's a reason her mother didn't give her any money. When you have a responsibility, you're supposed to take care of it. You owe her $550. Your counterclaim for harassment is dismissed. If you paid her the money, she wouldn't have called you. That's all. Step out.
All right, excuse you. Step out. All parties in the matter of Años versus Años, step forward.
Jacqueline Años is suing her daughter, 25-year-old Crystal Años, for selling her Chevy Silverado without her permission. Crystal says she didn't need permission.
Miss Años, the defendant is your daughter, and it is your claim that she stole a truck that belonged to you while you were on vacation and sold it. Your daughter says that it was her truck because she had sold it to you. You never finished paying for it, so she sold it. Right?
Correct.
Where did this truck initially come from?
My boyfriend, Frank Merrill.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Frank, what's your last name?
Merrill.
Miss Años says that the truck originally came from you. Explain that to me, please.
I had bought it for work, and wasn't quite big enough for me, so I decided to buy a van.
When was that?
It was about a month after I purchased it, which I believe was in April.
How much did you pay for it?
I paid $700 for the vehicle.
And who did you buy it from?
I saw it on the side of the road, actually, so I didn't know the gentleman that I bought it from.
What year truck was it?
1990 Chevy pickup truck.
Was it running?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so shortly after you bought it, you found that you needed a larger one. You bought a van, and what did you do with this 1990 Chevy?
At the time, Jackie didn't have a vehicle.
That would be you.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
And she didn't have a vehicle at the time, and she was interested in purchasing it off of us. So I talked to her daughter about it, and we decided it would Wouldn't be no harm to sell it to her.
Great. And you purchased it?
Yes, ma'am.
For how much?
The original price he asked me for was $500. I gave him $400 that day.
Just a second. He asked you for $500.
Yes.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Just a second. And you gave him $400.
Yes.
Okay. And then you took possession of the
vehicle?
Truck?
Yes, I did.
And did it remain in your possession?
Yes, it did.
Until when?
January of 2007.
And what happened in January of 2007?
I was in vacation on Florida. My daughter had came into my home to get an extra set of keys to park the truck in a friend's driveway because she was taking her plates back, but it never made it to my...
Taking her plates back on what?
On the truck. My truck was insured in my daughter's name.
It was insured in her name, so it must have been titled in her name.
Correct.
Had to be titled, because if it's not titled in her name, then she has no what we call insurable interest. They would not allow her to insure it unless it was titled in her name. Now, if you purchased the truck in 2005, why was the truck still in her name?
Why was the truck still in her name?
That
because
was my
the
question.
insurance was still in her name.
Why?
Why? Because through the course of years when my children were younger, my daughter got speeding tickets with my insurance.
That's false.
And I had a few fender benders. And my insurance at that time was for $435 a month. I had insured her prior with my insurance, and when my insurance was up...
I don't... Listen to me. Do you understand this is not a tea party? When I look at you and ask you a question, you'll answer me. Other than that, don't shout out here. I don't permit that.
Okay.
Now we understand that? I've explained it to you.
Yes.
Don't do it again. Go ahead.
And then I asked my daughter to do the same thing for me, which she insured the vehicle for me.
That's fraud, you know. That's fraud. It's your truck. You say you paid for it. You have somebody else put it in their name so that you can get the benefit of lower insurance, even though you're going to be the only driver. You can't do that. So now you've had this truck for 2 years. She came into your house to get an extra set of keys because she had to take the plates off. Now, why was she taking the plates off the truck?
She no longer wanted to insure me.
Okay. Is there any reason for that?
I had backed up into somebody's car, and her insurance went up $20 extra a month, so she wanted her plates back.
Sounds right to me. She no longer wanted to be responsible. So?
So?
Go ahead. Let me hear what happened. So?
I never got the truck back. She just kept it in her possession, called me up while I was in Florida, told me that she had took my truck and that she was selling it for the money that I owed her, which I have no idea what money I owe her.
Well, so far, according to you, you owe her $100 for the truck.
No, I paid Frank that $100.
Well, so you didn't tell me that.
Yes, I did. I paid Frank.
No, you didn't. What I'm saying is you didn't tell me that.
Okay.
You told me.
But I did pay Frank the other $100.
When?
Summertime 2006.
A year later?
Yeah.
Did she pay you another $100?
No, Your Honor.
How much did you sell her the truck for?
$700.
What you paid for it?
Correct.
And she gave you how much?
$500.
Did you ever ask her for the other two?
No, I didn't, to be quite honest with you.
So now you're going to tell me why you took the truck.
Okay.
Is not an answer.
I took the truck because she did get into an accident. My insurance did go up. And she also got a whole bunch of parking tickets in my name as well.
Really?
Yes, on top of the accident that she had gotten into.
How many parking tickets did she get?
There was 4. I paid off 2. I still have a copy of the other 2.
I'd like to see them, please. Why didn't you pay your parking tickets? Madam.
Yes.
Why didn't you pay your parking tickets?
The parking ticket that she is claiming for...
No, there were 4.
There's only 2, and here's a recent printout of that.
She said she paid 2. 2 were outstanding.
They weren't from me.
They were on a car that was in your possession. These are from 2006. The car was in your possession.
I did not have 4 tickets, Your Honor.
I have 2 here. She said she paid for 2. Let's talk about 2 from 2006. You have proof that you paid them?
No.
I can understand why she took back the truck. A, you didn't finish paying her for it. They might have let that go. B, you had an accident. You had an accident that forced their insurance to go up. Now, that's different from when a teenager has an accident forcing their parents' insurance to go up, because that's the life cycle. The life cycle is you are very excited to have children, and then they get their driver's license, and you can't wait for them to turn 25 so that you no longer have to keep them under your insurance policy. But then we don't regress and have our children take care of us and fraudulently keep a car in their name because they're lower insurance because of your lousy driving record. The cycle doesn't go that way. So I can understand why she was annoyed, and I can understand why she was doubly annoyed that there were tickets outstanding in a car that you had, that was in your possession, that she now has to assume responsibility for. And it's a 1990 truck that she says she sold for $350. At least $100 of that was for fines. So what are you complaining about?
What am I complaining about?
That's exactly what I asked you.
I put a lot of money into that truck, okay? And
should have taken better care of it. Should have paid the tickets on it. Shouldn't have gotten into an accident. Should have had the car insured in your name.
But what
should
about
have had the title.
She had her vehicle in my name for 3 years.
Listen to me. That's what parents do for children. That's what parents do for children. That's the cycle. That's what you weren't listening to. Your listening ears weren't on. Parents take care of their children. But until a parent is incapable of taking care of themselves, children aren't responsible for taking care of their adult parents. Not until they're old and feeble and can't feed themselves, which I assume is not the case in your case. That's not her job to take care of you. You don't have to take care of her. That's terrific. She shouldn't have to take care of you. By insuring a car for you, by paying your parking tickets, or by having her insurance go up because you had an accident. What else? You also said when she came into the house, she took toilet paper from your house.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
Did you do that?
Your Honor,
it's not an answer.
It wasn't in her house. It was in her truck. And yes, when I took it out of her truck, before I sold the truck, there was one earring in the truck and toilet paper. I took the toilet paper and here's the earring.
Okay.
I didn't bring the toilet paper with me.
Earring, please, and give it back to the plaintiff. You're also suing for those that were in the truck. Okay. Ms. Anyos, how many kids do you have?
2.
Where's the other one?
Home.
How old?
24.
Lives with you?
Yes.
Has a car?
No.
Do you have a car?
No.
What does a 24-year-old do?
He's working with a friend redoing houses.
Who drives him to and from work?
His friend.
And what do you do for a living?
I'm disabled.
You get disability?
Yes.
What's the nature of your disability?
I have chronic degenerate bone disease.
So you don't have to get around much?
Yes, I do have to get around much.
And with this degenerative bone disease, you were able to drive around for 2 years in a Chevy pickup truck?
Yeah, I can drive.
Right, a Chevy pickup truck, that's kind of hard.
No, it's not.
To drive it. Yeah, I can hardly get in and out of my car sometimes with my miserable back, and I'm not on disability. The case is dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused.
အားလုံးပဲမင်္ဂလာပါမတွေ့ရတာကြာပြီပေါ့နော် join အလုပ်ပြန်ဝင်နေတဲ့အတွက်ကြောင့်အလုပ်သွားရတာတဲ့အိမ်ရကိစ္စတွေခရီးသွားဖို့ plan နေတဲ့အတွက်ကြောင့် join အလုပ်တွေရှုံးနေတာပေါ့နော်အဲ့ဒီအတွက်ကြောင့်အရင်လုပ်နေကြဗီဒီယိုလေးတွေဆက်ပြီးတော့မလုပ်ဖြစ်ခဲ့တာပေါ့ဒါပေမဲ့ဒီနေ့ join အချိန်လေးလည်းရတယ်အခုဒီဗီဒီယိုထဲမှာပြောမယ့် topic လေးကို join ပြောမယ်ဆိုပြီးပြင်ဆင်နေတာကြာပြီဒါပေမဲ့ဒီနေ့အချိန်လေးရတဲ့အတွက်ကြောင့် join အဲ့ဒီ topic လေးကိုတည်တည်ချာချာလေး join ဒီတလောက်လေးပြပြပေးပါမယ်ဒီပြပြပေးမယ့် topic လေးကနယ်သာလန်ကိုလာမယ်ဆိုရင်သိထားတဲ့အချက်5ချက်အဲ့ဒီ5ချက်နဲ့ join အရင်စလိုက်မယ်နော်နံပါတ်1ချက်ရာသီဥတုနယ်သာလန်လို့ Google ခောက်လိုက်တာနဲ့အရင်လာတဲ့ပုံလေးတက်လာတယ်တော်တော်လေးကိုလှတယ်ပေါ့နော်အရောင်လေးတွေကလည်းစိုးဖြည်ပြီးတော့ကောင်းကင်တွေကလည်းပြာပြီးတော့အရင်လာပါတဲ့နိုင်ငံတစ်ခုကိုတွေ့ရမှာပါဒါပေမဲ့အဲ့ဒီပုံတွေကအများမှန်နေတာမဟုတ်ဘူးပေါ့နော်ဒီလိုမျိုးပြောရတဲ့အကြောင်းရင်းကလည်း join အခုနယ်သာလန်မှာနေနေတာ2နှစ်ကျော်သွားပြီဒီ2နှစ်ကျော်3နှစ်အတွင်းမှာကြုံတွေ့ရတဲ့ရာသီဥတု changes ရာသီဥတုရဲ့ပြောင်းလဲမှုတွေရဲ့ဒီတကယ် what is real Netherlands ဆိုတဲ့အကြောင်း join တင်ချက်ချက်ဒီချာလေးတိခက်နေရပြီဖြစ်တဲ့အတွက်ကြောင့် join ဒီ topic လေးနဲ့အရင်စလိုက်ပါမယ် join တို့မြန်မာလူမျိုးတွေအတွက်ကဒီမြန်မာနိုင်ငံမှာရှိတဲ့ရာသီဥတုကမိုးရာသီရှိမယ်၊နွေရာသီရှိမယ်၊ဆောင်းရာသီရှိမယ်ဒါပေမဲ့ join တို့ရဲ့ဆောင်းရာသီကနှင်းကြရလာအောင်ထိအေးတဲ့အေးစိတ်နဲ့ဆောင်းရာသီမဟုတ်ဘူးမိုးရာသီကတော့တည်တဲ့အတိုင်းရေကြီးရေရှမ်းနွေရာသီကကျတော့အရန်ပူတဲ့နွေရာသီဒီနယ်သာလန်မှာကျတော့ရာသီဥတု၄မျိုးရှိတယ် spring summer autumn and winter spring ကကျတော့ရာသီဥတု 15 degree လောက်ကနေစတယ်15 degree ကနေ21 22အဲ့ဝင်းချင်အတွင်းကိုသူပြည့်ရပေါ့နော် summer တော့ဒီနယ်သာလန်မှာနေတဲ့အချိန်မှာအကောင်းဆုံးအချိန်ပဲဒီနယ်သာလန်မှာ summer ဆိုရင်လူတိုင်းပျော်ကြတယ်ပျော်ပွဲရှင်ပွဲအများကြီးလုပ်တဲ့အချိန်စောင်းဦးရာသီကြတော့အရင်လည်းမပူဘူးအရင်လည်းမအေးဘူးနေလို့ကောင်းတဲ့အချိန်လေးပဲစောင်းဦးရာသီမှာဒီတရွက်လေးစပြီးကျွေတဲ့အချိန်ပေါ့နော်ပြီးရင်စောင်းရာသီကနှင်းကြတဲ့အထီကိုအေးပါတယ်နှင်းရလည်းကြတဲ့အပြင်ကိုမိုးကလည်းရွာသေးတယ်လေကလည်းတိုက်တယ်အဲ့ဒီဒဏ်တွေကိုခံရပါတယ်ဒီရာသီဥတုတွေရဲ့နောက်ဆက်တွဲတွေမှာလည်းဒီလူတွေရဲ့ခံစားချက်တွေကတခါတည်းပါလာတယ်ပေါ့နော်နွေရာသီမှာဆိုရင်ပျော်ကြသလိုစောင်းရာသီမှာဆိုရင် depression ဝင်ကြတယ်ဒါကဒီနယ်သာလန်မှာနှစ်တိုင်းဖြစ်နေတဲ့ကိစ္စပေါ့နော်စောင်းရာသီမှာနေမမြင်ရဘူးနေမမြင်ရတဲ့နေ့ရှိတယ်ရာသီမှာကျတော့နေ့တာရှည်ပြီးညတာတိုးပြင်မဲ့စောင်းဝတီမှာကြားတယ်နေ့တာအရန်တုတ်ပြီးတော့ညတာအရန်ရှိပါတယ်ဒါကရာသီဥတုအနေနဲ့ပြောတာပဲရှိသေးတာပေါ့နော်စိတ်ပိုင်းဆိုင်ရာအရာဘာတွေပြင်ဆင်ထားရမလဲဆိုတော့ဒီအေးတဲ့ရာသီဥတုမှာမိုးရွာပြီးဆိုရင်တော်ရွံ့နေလို့မကောင်းတာပေါ့နော်ကိုကတကယ်လို့အပြင်မှာစပိန်စီးနေတာတော့လမ်းလျှောက်နေတာတော့ဆိုရင်တော်နေရတာအဆင်မပြေပါဘူးလေတိုက်တဲ့ခါကျရင်ချမ်းစိတ်မြောင်တုံတယ်ပေါ့နော်အဲ့တော့ winter jacket တွေကိုဝတ်ပြီးတော့အနာစီးချောင်းဆိုးမှဖြစ်နေကြ flu ကအရန်ကိုပြင်းပြင်းထန်ထန်ဖြစ်တယ်ပေါ့နော်ဒီဟာလေးတော့တည်ထားဖို့လိုအပ်ပါတယ်အဲ့တော့ဒီလိုမျိုးရာသီဥတု changes တွေအတွက် ready ဖြစ်ပြီလားဆိုတဲ့နံပါတ်1အချက်ကိုစဉ်းစားဖို့လိုတယ်ပေါ့နော်နံပါတ်2အချက်ကဒီရာသီဥတုတွေနဲ့တိုက်ရိုက်တော့မသက်ဆိုင်ပြင်မဲ့တွေ့ဝိုက်ပြီးတော့သက်ဆိုင်တဲ့ topic လေးပေါ့အဲ့ဒါကတယောက်တည်းနေတတ်လားဆိုတဲ့ခေါင်းစဉ်ကိုကနယ်သာလန်မှာတငယ်ချင်းနဲ့အိမ်တူနေတာဒါမှမဟုတ်ကိုယ့်ရဲ့ partner ကိုယ့်ရဲ့ boyfriend girlfriend ရဲ့ marriage နဲ့တူနေတာဆိုရင်တော့အရင်ပြဿနာမရှိဘူးပေါ့နော်ရှိတော့ရှိတယ်အများကြီးမရှိဒါပေမဲ့တယောက်သေးသမားတွေအတွက်ကြာရင်နှစ်ခေါက်လောက်စဉ်းစားပြီးတော့မှနယ်သာလန်ကိုလာဖို့အတွက်အကြံပြုချင်တယ်ပေါ့နော်ဒီ single သမားတွေအတွက်ကြတော့နယ်သာလန်ကရေရှည်အရင်အဆင်မပြေဘူးနယ်သာလန်မှမဟုတ်ဘူးဒီယူရိုပတခွင်ပေါ့နော်ဘာလို့လဲဆိုတော့အထီးကျန်တယ်one life balance ဖြစ်တာမှန်ပေမဲ့အလုပ်လုပ်ပြီးအိမ်ပြန်လာတဲ့အခါကျရင်ကိုယ့်ဘာသာကိုတယောက်တည်းနေတတ်ဖို့လိုတယ်ကိုယ့်ဘာသာကိုတယောက်တည်း enjoy တတ်ဖို့လိုတယ်ပေါ့နော်မဟုတ်ရင်အမှအထီးကျန်တယ်ပြီးတော့ဒီက lifestyle က join တို့မြင်ဖို့ကြုံဖို့တဲ့ Asia lifestyle နဲ့မတူဘူးပေါ့နော်ညနေခင်းဆိုရင်ဘာသွားတောက်စားပါတဲ့ lifestyle ကဒီယူရိုပမှာအဲ့လောက်ကြီးမတွင်ကျဲဘူးပေါ့ဘက်ကလူတွေကဒီ family ကိုပိုပြီးဦးစားပေးတဲ့လူတွေဖြစ်နေတဲ့အတွက်ကြောင့်အခုကဒီဘက်က shopping mall တွေကညနေခင်း6နာရီဆိုပိတ်ပြီအဲ့တော့ဖွင့်တာကဒီ restaurant နဲ့ bar တွေပဲဖွင့်တာပေါ့နော်အဲ့တော့ကိုညနေခင်းရုံးစင်းလို့ shopping ထွက်မယ်ဆိုပြီးတော့စဉ်းစားလိုက်လို့မရဘူးပေါ့နော်ဒီ Amsterdam လို့တော့မြို့ကြီးတွေမှာတော့အရင်မသိတာပဲမဲ့ဒီလိုမျိုးတခြားဒီမြို့ငယ်လေးတွေမှာအရင်သိတာတယ်အဲ့တော့တယောက်တည်းနေတတ်ပြီလားဆိုတဲ့ခေါင်းစဉ်ကိုနှစ်ကြိမ်လောက်စဉ်းစားဖို့လိုပါတယ်ဗီဇမရှိဘူးကိုနဲ့တူနေမဲ့ပါတနာမရှိဘူးဆိုရင်အရင်အထီးကျန်တယ်ပေါ့ယူရိုကအဲ့ဒီချက်လေးကိုစဉ်းစားဖို့လိုပါတယ်နောက်တတိယတစ်ချက်အစားအသောက် join ကိုယ်တိုင်ကလည်းမြန်မာဖြစ်နေတဲ့အပြင်အေရှားစာတွေကိုအရင်ကြိုက်တဲ့အတွက်ကြောင့်ပေါ့နော်မြန်မာစားစာအေရှားစာတွေကိုအရင်ညက်တယ်အဲ့တော့ဟင်းချက်တက်လားဟင်းချက်ချင်လားဟင်းချက်ဖို့အတွက်စိတ်ဆန္ဒရှိတာပေါ့နော်အဲ့ဒီခေါင်းစဉ်တွေကိုမေးဖို့လိုပါတယ်ဒီနယ်သာလန်မှာစားဖို့ဆိုတာကလေဖြစ်နိုင်ပေမဲ့နေ့တိုင်းကျတော့အဆင်မပြေဘာလို့လဲဆိုတော့ဈေးကြီးတယ်ရာမန်တစ်ခွက်ကိုပဲ18ကျပ်20ဖြစ်နေရပါတော့အဲ့တော့ Asia စာတွေစားမယ်ဆိုရင်ပတ်စံတော်တော်လေးကိုကုန်မယ်ကိုယ်တိုင်ချက်စားတတ်မှာပဲအဆင်ပြေတာပေါ့ကိုယ်တိုင်ချက်စားတတ်ဖို့ကလည်းမှန်ကန်တဲ့ ingredient တွေရဖို့အတွက်ကလည်းအချိန်ပေးရတယ်ဥပမာဆိုရင် join ပြောပြမယ် join ကကစုံရက်ကြော်ကိုအရင်ကြိုက်တာဒါပေမဲ့နိုင်ငံမှာနေတော့ကစင်ကာပူမှာနေတော့ဒီကစုံရက်ကြော်အဲ့လောက်ကြီး appreciate မဖြစ်ခဲ့ဘူးပေါ့နော်အိမ်မှာကြော်လဲအဲ့တော့ဆိုရင်ကစုံရက်ကတစ်စီး50လောက်ပဲရှိတာဟုတ်အဲ့တော့ကြော်တယ်စားလိုက်တယ်ဒီလောက်ပဲဒါပေမဲ့အခုဒီနယ်သာလန်မှာကျတော့ကစုံရက်ကြော်အရင်စားချင်တဲ့အခါကျတော့ဒီ Asia market ဒီမှာသွားကြည့်ရပါတော့ကစုံရက်ကြော်တစ်စီးဒီလက်နှစ်ချောင်းလောက်ပဲရှိတယ်နှစ်ချောင်းကို9ကျပ်ကျော်9ကျပ်နဲ့69 ပြားပေါ့နော်အဲ့လောက်ရှိတယ်ရှိတော့အဲ့လောက်ကြီးပေးပြီးတော့မဝယ်တော့ဘာလို့လဲဆိုတော့ဈေးရမ်းကြီးတယ်ပေါ့ကစုံရက်နဲ့စင်တူတဲ့အစားထိုးတဲ့ Spanish အရွက်ကိုဝယ်ပြီးတော့ join ကြော်ပြီးစားဖြစ်တယ်ပေါ့နော်ကစုံရက်လိုပဲကြော်ပြီးစားလိုက်တယ်အဲ့တော့ဒါကပထမချက်နောက်တစ်ခုကဒီ Asia စာတွေစားကြည့်ပြီဆိုရင် Asia ပစ္စည်းတွေပဲရောင်းနေ Asia grocery market တွေရှိတယ်အမှသွားပြီးဝယ်လို့ရပါတယ်ဈေးလေးကတော့တင်တော့ရှိတယ်ပေါ့နော်ဒါပေမဲ့ဈေးကြီးတဲ့ဟာလည်းကြီးတယ်အဲ့ဒါကတတိယချက်စဉ်းစားဖို့ပါကိုယ်တိုင်းချက်စားရင်တော့အကောင်းဆုံးပဲပေါ့မဟုတ်ရင်တော့ပတ်စံအရန်ကုန်ပါတယ်ဝင်ငွေနဲ့စားတဲ့ငွေလည်းမကိုက်ဘူးပေါ့နောက်တစ်ခုကဒီ Dutch ကမေကြီးတာကသူတို့ရဲ့ဒီ traditional food မရှိတလောက်ပဲပေါ့ကြီးတဲ့ဟာကလည်းလုံးဝအရသာမရှိတဲ့အစားအစာမျိုးအဲ့တော့ကအစားတောက်တွေကအများဆုံးပေါ်တာဘာဂါတို့ cheese fry sandwich wrap တွေနဲ့နောက်ပြီးတော့တခြားနိုင်ငံစာတွေပဲရှိရပေါ့နော်အဲ့ဒါလေးတော့စဉ်းစားပြီးပို့လိုပါတယ် join ခု၃ချက်ကြော်ပြီးသွားပြီပေါ့နော်ရာသီဥတုရဲ့တယောက်တည်းနေတက်ပြီလားရဲ့အစားအသောက်ချက်စားတက်လားပေါ့နော်နံပါတ်၄ချက်ကအကြတော့ budget နဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့ join ပြပြချင်တယ်နယ်သာလန်ကနေလို့ကောင်းတဲ့နိုင်ငံဆိုတာမှန်တယ်ဒါပေမဲ့ရတဲ့လားစာပေါ်မူတည်ပြီးတော့ဆောင်ရတဲ့အခွင့်အရေးရှိတယ်ပေါ့နော်အများဆုံးက49-48ရာခိုင်နှုန်းထိဆောင်ရတယ်ပေါ့အဲ့တော့ထားလိုက်ပါတော့ကိုကလားစာ6000ရတယ်ထားလိုက်အဲ့ဆိုရင်သူတို့ရဲ့ဒီနှစ်တာရတဲ့လစာနဲ့တွက်ထားပြီးတော့သူတို့အခွန်ကောက်တဲ့ဇရာထဲမှာဆိုရင်ကိုက 50% လောက်ဆောင်နေချင်ရှိတယ်ပေါ့ကိုလက်ထဲမှာ3000လောက်ပဲကျန်မယ်ဒါရေဘူးကအားဖြင့်တွက်ပြတာပေါ့နော်ကွက်တိကျမှန်နေတဲ့ဟာမျိုးတော့မဟုတ်ဘူးပေါ့လက်ထဲမှာ3000လောက်ပဲကျန်တယ်ပထမအဆုံးကုန်မှာကိုတွေ့ရမှာကအိမ်အတွက်တွေ့ရပါမယ်အိမ်ငါးကားတွေကအခုနေသားလမ်းမှာအရန်အောင်ဈေးကြီးနေပါတယ် one bedroom အခန်းလေးပဲငားမယ်ဆိုရင်တော့အနည်းဆုံး1100နဲ့စတယ်ပေါ့အိမ်တော်တော်များများဒီ electric bill တို့ water bill တို့မပါသေးဘူးပေါ့နော်အဲ့ဒါတွေပါပေါင်းလိုက်မယ်ဆိုရင်တစ်လကို1300ကနေကို3ချင်တစ်လောက်ကိုတွားလို့ရတယ်ပေါ့အိမ်ခန်းနှခမ်းပါတာတို့ဒါမှမဟုတ်နေရာကောင်းတဲ့နေရာတွေမှာဆိုရင်အိမ်ငါးကားတွေက1800လောက်ထိရှိရပေါ့ဟိုတွေမှာဆိုပို့ပြီးတော့အကြီးကြီးရပေါ့နော်ဒါကတိုက်ခတ်မဲ့ပြောသေးတာတကယ်ဒီအိမ်နဲ့ဆိုရင်ပို့ပြီးတော့အကြီးကြီးပါတယ်2000တိကိုတွားတယ်ပေါ့အဲ့တော့ဒါ family အနေနဲ့လာမယ်ဆိုရင်စဉ်းစားဖို့အတွက်ပေါ့နောက်တစ်ခုကကျန်းမာရေး health insurance ကရတဲ့အလုပ်ပေါ်မူတည်တယ်ပေါ့ပထမချက်ကကိုကုမ္ပဏီက sponsor ပေးတယ်ဆိုရင်တချို့ကုမ္ပဏီတွေကဒီ health insurance ကိုထောက်ပံ့ပေးရရှိတယ်လို့အများစုကမရှိဘူးပေါ့နော် join မျိုးသားအပါဝင် join ဆိုလဲhealth insurance ကိုဘာသာကိုပေးရတာဒီဘက်မှာကျတော့ health insurance မပေးဘူးဆိုရင် resident card မရဘူးပေါ့နော် resident card ရပြီဆိုတာနဲ့သူက health insurance တစ်လစီကိုပေးရတယ်တစ်လကိုအနည်းဆုံး128ချက်ကနေစပါတယ်ဒီထက်ပိုပြီးပေးနိုင်တယ်ဆိုရင်150ကျော်ထိသွားတယ်ပေါ့နော်ဒါ health insurance တွက်ထားဖို့အတွက်ပါအဲ့တော့ကိုအပြင်ကိုရဲ့ရီစာတော့မဟုတ်ကိုရဲ့မိန်းမယောက်ျားအတွက်ပါကိုကပေးရမယ်ဆိုရင်နှစ်ယောက်ပဲတွက်မယ်ဆိုရင်တစ်လကို300နီးပါးလောက် health insurance ကကုန်ပါတယ်အဲ့တော့နေစရိတ်ရဲ့ health insurance ရဲ့ပြီးရင်အစားအသောက် grocery shopping အတွက်ပေါ့နော်ကိုအိမ်မှာပဲချက်စားတာတော့မှဒီဘက်မှာ inflation rate တွေတက်လာတဲ့အတွက်ကြောင့်ကြက်သားတွေအသားတွေကလည်းဈေးကြီးရပေါ့အဲ့တော့တစ်လအနည်းဆုံး900လောက်တော့ခြံထားဖို့လိုတယ်ပေါ့နော်ကိုစားမယ်တောက်မယ်ဆိုတာဟိုလိုအရင်မူးညောင်တောက်တဲ့အရက်မျိုးမဟုတ်ဘူးပေါ့စားမယ်တောက်မယ်ချက်စားမယ်အဲ့လောက်ပမာဏပေါ့900လောက်တော့ကိုတွက်ထားတင်တယ်ပြီးရင် transportation charges အကြောင်းပဲကိုကထည့်ပြီးစဉ်းစားဖို့လိုတယ်ပေါ့နော်ကိုနေမဲ့အိမ်နဲ့ကိုလုံးမဲ့အလုံးနဲ့တမျိုးတည်းမှာဆိုရင်ဒီမှာနယ်သာလန်လူတော်များများကစပိန်စီးတာများတယ်ပေါ့အဲ့တော့စပိန်စီးမယ်ဆိုရင်တော့ transportation charges အရင်ထက်တွက်စရာမလိုဒါတာမန်အပ်ပြတာဒီ budget လေးကိုလည်းကိုကတိထားတင်လောက်တိထားလေးလာထားပါလို့နယ်သာလန်ကိုလာချင်တယ်ဆိုရင်ချက်ငါနောက်ဆုံးတစ်ခုအရေးကြီးတဲ့အချက်အဲ့ဒါပါလဲဆိုတော့လုပ်ဘလို့ရှာမလဲကိစ္စjoin ကိုတိုင်းတွင်ခဲ့တဲ့နှစ်တစ်လျှောက်လုံးအလုပ်ကို join အသေးအကြီးရှာခဲ့တဲ့လူပေါ့နော်။ရပို့ခဲ့တဲ့ application ပါဆို1000ကျော်နေပြီ1000ကျော်2000ကျော်လောက်မဲ့နေ့တိုင်းပို့တာနေ့တိုင်းလျှောက်တာ rejection ကိုခံနိုင်ရရှိဖို့လိုအပ်တယ်ပေါ့နော်ဒီနယ်သာလန်မှာအလုပ်ရှာမယ်ဆိုရင်အလုပ်ရှာမဲ့အခါမှာလည်း category ထပ်ပြီး꿰ဝအောင်မယ်ဘာလို့လဲဆိုတော့ဒီနယ်သာလန်ကကို spouse အနေနဲ့ comment လူမရှိဘူး partner အနေနဲ့တော့ family အနေနဲ့ comment လူမရှိဘူးဆိုရင် သွားမဲ့တလန်ရဲ့လူ spouse အနေနဲ့ family partner အနေနဲ့ခေါ်မဲ့လူရှိတယ်ဆိုရင်အဲ့ဒါသွားလို့ရတယ်နောက်ထပ်လမ်းတလမ်းတက်ရှိရပေါ့နော်သူကအဲ့နှစ်ခုနဲ့ resident ရတဲ့ပါမစ်ကကွာသွားတာပေါ့အဲ့တော့အဲ့နှစ်ခုကိုလည်း join တကြဝလေးပြောပြချင်တယ်ဒါပေမဲ့နောက်ထပ်ဗီဒီယိုမှာပဲ join ပြောပြတော့မယ်ဒီဗီဒီယိုအရင်ရှည်သွားမှာဆိုလို့ပေါ့အချင်းချင်းပဲပြောရမယ်ဆိုရင်တော့ဒီအလုံးရှာရတာအရန်ကိုခတ်ပါတယ်အရင်ဆုံးကိုနေမဲ့မျိုးနဲ့လည်းအရန်ဆိုင်တယ်ပေါ့ဒီမှာကထားလိုက်ပါတော့ join ရဲ့ career နဲ့ join အလုပ်ရတယ် Amsterdam မှာဒါပေမဲ့ join အခုနေတဲ့နေရာကနေ Amsterdam ကိုသွားဖို့တော့ကားမောင်းမယ်ဆိုရင်2နာရီကနေ3နာရီအတွင်းကြာတယ်ဓာတ်စီးမယ်ဆိုရင်2နာရီကနေ3နာရီအတွင်းကြာအောင်မယ်အဲ့တော့အသွားအပြန်နဲ့အဲ့လောက်အချိန် join လုံးမပေးနိုင်ဘူးနောက်ပြီးတော့ company ကလည်းအဲ့လောက်ထိအချိန်ပေးရမယ်ဆိုတဲ့လူမျိုးတို့မခန့်ချင်ဘူးဒါနဲ့တာလန်ရဲ့ဖြစ်နေတဲ့အခြေအနေလေးပေါ့ကိုနေစတဲ့မြို့ပေါ်မူတည်ပြီးတော့ industry ကလည်းကွာသေးတယ်တချို့မြို့တွေဆိုရင် industry ကဒီ semiconductor တို့ production ပိုင်းတို့ manufacturing ပိုင်းတို့ ਨੇ အလုပ်အရန်ပေါ်တဲ့မြို့နယ်တချို့မြို့တွေကကျတော့ဒီ construction ပိုင်းတို့ဒါမှမဟုတ်ဒီ offshore တို့ ship building ပိုင်းတို့ ਨੇ ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့အလုပ်ပေါ်များတဲ့မြို့ပေါ့နော်အဲ့လိုမျိုးတွေအများကြီးကွာတယ်ကွာတော့ကိုရှောက်မဲ့ကိုသွားမဲ့ career ပေါ်တဲ့ နယ်ပယ်မြို့ကိုဦးတည်ပြီးတော့အလုပ်ကိုရှောက်ရင်ပို့ပြီးတော့အဆင်ပြေတယ်ပြီးတော့အဲ့နေရာမှာနေနိုင်ပို့ပြီးတော့အဆင်ပြေပါတယ်join ကြတော့ join နေတဲ့နေရာကဒီလိုမျိုး Amsterdam တို့ The Hague Rotterdam တို့ ਨੇ ဝေးတဲ့အတွက်ကြောင့် join သွားချင်တဲ့ career နဲ့ဘလို့မှထပ်တူကြတဲ့အလုပ်ကို join လုံးဝမရခဲ့ပါဘူးဒါက join ရဲ့ experience ကိုပြပေးတာပေါ့နော် rejection ကိုခံနိုင်ရရှိရမယ်နောက်တစ်ခုကကိုကနယ်သာလန်ကိုမလာခင်အပြင်ကနေရှောက်မယ်ဆိုရင် master degree ရှိထားရင်ပို့ပြီးတော့အဆင်ပြေပါတယ်နယ်သာလန်ရဲ့သူတို့ government ရဲ့တို့ချထားတဲ့စီးမြင့်တွေအရ master ရှိထားပြီးတော့ဒီသူတို့ခန့်ချင်တဲ့နယ်ပယ်ဘက်ကလူတွေဆိုရင် interview ရမယ်အလုပ်ခန့်ခံရမယ်အဲ့ဒီအပိုင်းနဲ့ရတယ်ဆိုရင်လစာလည်းကောင်းတယ်လို့ lifestyle လည်းကောင်းလေးရပါမယ် master မရှိထားဘူးဆိုရင်တော့အလုပ်ရနိုင်ခြေကအရင်နေပါတယ်အဲ့တော့နယ်သာလန်ကိုဘယ်လိုနည်းနဲ့လာရင်အကောင်းဆုံးလဲဆိုတဲ့ဥစဉ်နဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီး join အချိန်ဉာဏ်ပေးချင်တာကနယ်သာလန်မှာကိုယ့်ရဲ့boyfriend girlfriend သို့မဟုတ်ယောက်ျား spouse သို့မဟုတ် family ရှိထားပြီးသားလူတွေအတွက်ဆိုရင်တော့ partner visa နဲ့လာလို့ရပါတယ် join ဆနာပြောလိုက်တဲ့အရာတွေသူတွေဘယ်သူမှမရှိဘူးဆိုတဲ့လူတွေအတွက်ကတော့ကျောင်းတက်ပြီးတော့ကျောင်းသားဗီဇာနဲ့လာတာကပိုပြီးအဆင်ပြေတယ်ပေါ့နော် scholarship တွေခေါ်နေရလဲရှိပါတယ် scholarship တွေရှောက်ပြီးလာလို့လည်းရတယ်ပေါ့နောက်တစ်ခုကနယ်သာလန်ကိုမလာခင်အပြင်ကနေအလုပ်ရအောင်ရှောက်တဲ့ကိစ္စပေါ့ဒါကတော့တော်တော်လေး challenging ဖြစ်ပြီးတော့ခက်ခဲမဲ့လမ်းပါဒါပေမဲ့ကိုယ့်ရဲ့ background က let's say IT ဘက်ကတော့ဒီ offshore ဘိုင်းဘက်ကတော့ mechanic ဘိုင်းဘက်ကတော့အဲ့ဒီဘက်ဘိုင်းတွေကဆိုရင်တော့အလုပ်ရနိုင်ချေပို့ပြီးတော့များပါတယ်အဲ့ဒီအပိုင်းတွေကနေလွယ်ပြီးကြံတဲ့အပိုင်းတွေဆိုရင်တော့အလုပ်ရဖို့တော့အရန်ဟို chance နည်းတယ်ပေါ့နော်နယ်သာလန်စကားတက်တယ်ဆိုရင်တော့ရနိုင်ချေများတယ်တော့အခု join ဒီနေ့ပြောပြပေးတဲ့ချက်5ချက်နဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့မိကုန်းလေးရှိတယ်ဆိုရင် join ကိုလာမေးလို့ရပါတယ် comment လည်းပေးလို့ရပါတယ်အလုပ်ရှာတာနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့ join နောက်တဲ့ဗီဒီယိုတစ်ခုမှပြပြပေးပါမယ်နော်ကဲအားလုံးပဲဒီဗီဒီယိုလေးကိုကြည့်ပြီးတော့ကိုသိချင်တဲ့မိကုန်းလေးတချို့ကို join ကဖြည့်ပြီးသွားနိုင်တယ်လို့ယုံကြည်ပြီးတော့ဒီဗီဒီယိုလေးကိုဒီမှာပဲအဆုံးသတ်လိုက်ပါတယ်နော်အားလုံးပဲ bye bye